Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Finding Strength. I'm here with Scott Brengel. We're here at East Coast, West Coast in
Costa
Mesa, California. If you've been following along the series, you saw, I think sometime last year, I was at the New Jersey location.
Carlstadt,
New Jersey. And how you doing today?
Doing good. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. It's a really great facility. They got pretty much everything you need for strongman, weightlifting, and powerlifting, and everything in between. Got some jiu-jitsu and MMA type stuff. So kind of how did this come to be?
So you already met Cameron. Cameron and I have been training together since we were about 18 years old. Mm-hmm. I played football in college. So athletic performance training for me and strength training was always a part of my life ever since I started playing football. And then I met Cameron, and he was into bodybuilding and just weight training in general. And it's funny, he didn't really know much about how to get strong or how to eat or any of that. And I was already reading the old magazine, the bodybuilding magazines, Iron Man, Muscle Media 2000. I mean, if you remember, things back in the day, that's probably the origin of kind of how America built back up athletic performance training and strength training again, because the general public, we didn't have the internet back then, so you either had to read books or you had to go to the library or find magazines that maybe had some strength coaches that were writing for it. And I don't know how many people would remember this, but Muscle Media 2000, they introduced a bunch of strength coaches into their content. And I started eating it up, and then once you start following one strength coach, they start talking to you about all the Russian scientists and the Bulgarians, and then you're like, all right, where do I find their books? And then you buy their books, and then all of a sudden, you are evolving in, with it, whatever your sports training, might be. So me and Cameron were sprinting too. We're competitively sprinting, and I was still playing football. I moved out to California in 1998, left Cameron in New Jersey, but he used to come out here and visit and such. So, I was still playing football. I was trying to get into the pros. So I was sprinting. We were working with, we stayed at Mel Siff's house for a week and, learned from him. And if anyone knows who Mel Siff is, Mel Siff wrote Super Training. He's not alive anymore, but that's a lot where Louis Simmons gets his content from. So him and I actually went and stayed with Mel Siff. That was I don't even know how long ago. It seems like almost 20 years ago. So, but yeah, we went to all the Olympic training centers to work with their strength and speed coaches. Cameron also, he went up to study with Charlie Francis, who was Ben Johnson's coach, who laid down the best time in the 100-meter dash.
It's one of my favorite coaches, Charlie Francis.
Exactly. So we have a good base and a good background to go from before the internet even became relevant. This is where everyone gets their content now from. They will watch YouTube and everything else. We actually had to read books and go find these strength coaches and study with them, and then, I think that's kind of, we have more of a pure base kind of. I'd kind of equate it to something more of like the West Side guys or, Dave Tate. They laid the groundwork down, themselves almost. They read they studied, and then they applied that knowledge and tried to figure out different, things that worked for them and their other athletes. So, we kind of have a similar approach. I don't go on the internet every day searching out, different, with what everyone's doing on YouTube or on their Instagram accounts. I just read books, and then I experiment in the gym with my athletes. And as you can see, on our wall, we have 7 pro strongmen now, and I don't think most states have 7 pro strongmen. We have it in our gym, So, our knowledge is definitely, we're like, mad scientists of strength, it's kind of, which, I do definitely appreciate all the strength coaches out there, like Louis and Mel Siff and Charles Poliquin and Dave Tate. All those guys, they love strength so much that they're willing to open up a book and study it and then practice it. People that really want to get into strength and really want to figure out how do I get strong, they're going to experiment nonstop. They're lifetime scientists, and they're going to have different, puzzles to solve based on who the individual is that comes. He might have long arms, he might have short arms, he might have broad shoulders, narrow shoulders. It all depends on, what your little subject is. So
it's funny too, because now there's that whole debate online I see all the time of application versus studies, and everybody's like, well, cite this study, and So what do you think of that kind of, applying what you read versus all the science that's out there? 'Cause I love science, but
I love
sometimes
science
it
too.
doesn't work in real life.
Yeah, it doesn't. And that's the thing. I mean, if you don't apply your knowledge on what you read, I mean, I've read a lot of things that I was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to try this. And, then I come to try it, and then you realize that maybe these people were dealing with different variables than I have, to deal with. You can handle more volume, you can handle,
trained versus untrained.
Exactly. How long you've been playing the game, how neurally efficient now are you at it, X movement, how is your work capacity developed, how much time do they put into that facet of their training. I mean, there's so many different variables that go into it, and until you know your subjects and you've had your subjects over, I don't know, depending on the sport, a year, even 6 months for some sports, you can't really, form like a real, good base, or good opinion on where they're at, what level they are as an athlete. Because some athletes come in and they're highly skilled with movement. They can just move any direction they want to. But then you put them under a bar and they can't squat, 95 pounds, but they can jump and they can run, So you kind of have to figure out, based on an athlete, where they need to, allocate most of their volume, or what do you think that they need to, evolve in their sports too.
So when a strongman comes in here, so we'll just talk about strongman at this point. When a strongman comes in, they want to train with you. What's your approach to assess them and develop a plan for them? Okay,
so I like to test them mentally first, because I think for me, coming from an old school strongman contests were there to test your your maximal strength. They're there to test your work capacity. They're to test your speed strength. And they're all different events to test that. A truly well-rounded strongman competition, will have a max in it, and it will have a medley in it, and it will have a power event like a keg toss, or depending on what you believe a power event is, and then also technique. Who has good technical movement, who has good biomechanics just naturally. And so we test all those things when they come in. So most strongman crews will have a training day. And the first thing you'll do is overhead press.
Yeah.
So, we'll test their jerk. We'll test their push press. I'll see, where do I think that they're going to be most successful? Are they skilled with, with their body? Can they keep the bar in a straight path? Can they, do they have the mobility to even get to a jerking position? That might be dictated just by the fact that their biceps are too big, and we have to find a way around that problem.
Yeah.
They come in. I mentioned before, we always put them through some form of a medley to test their work capacity. 2005, I came up with the worst possible thing in strongman I could ever imagine, which was we call it the death medley. Yeah. And since then, people have called different things death medleys, but the original death medley is the farmer's walk into a tire flip into an anchor chain drag or a sled drag. And if you've ever done that in a contest with real weights, a shotgun at the end of it is not a bad, option to go with, because your legs are full of blood and you're in a lot of pain. Yeah. Just the blood is just pooling up, and you just can't wait for it to get out. You kind of just test whether mentally they're going to give up. Yeah. So we'll just we'll put them through. Usually by the time they get to the tire flip, they midway through the tire flip, they're mentally starting to be challenged, and we're going to see exactly whether they want to win or whether they want to do this type of sport, because strongman revolves around being strong, and then also your threshold for pain, and your tolerance for pain. So if you can put up with that kind of pain in the beginning, or the first day, then I know maybe you're going to stick around, and I won't necessarily be wasting my time with somebody, because strongman people will drop out after a year, they'll drop out after 6 months. You put all that time and energy into them, and all of a sudden they never show up again. I mean, doing this for now over 15 years, you're like, you want to pick and choose your battles. If you think someone can really, offer something to your sport or to your crew even, and is going to give you back what you give to them, then you'll kind of waste your time.
Yeah, it's always been kind of my thing when somebody comes to me, is I say, do you picture yourself here in 5 years? Yeah. Because if you're not on a 5-year plan minimum, then it's wrong sport.
Yes, I agree. You know what?
It takes time, and they want to be this shooting star that shooting stars always burn out.
They see that on YouTube or on their Instagram. They all want to be that, but do they have the mental fortitude to actually, to take the time to actually, and the energy to put into it. I like to say, if I have if I have you for an hour in my strongman crew, I will see your soul, you know, within that first hour, and you don't have to tell me a fucking word. I will know exactly everything I need to know about that person. So, you know, and I think that's the cool thing. And a lot of people are discouraged. Oh, you want to make your athletes vomit and test this and that. Yes, I do, because I want to know whether or not I need to waste my time with that person. So yeah, I'm not trying to, you know, prove anything, you know, in my gym, or how cool or how, you know, how hardcore we are. I want to know how, you know, you mentally, whether or not you're ready for this, you know, and whether you want to, or you have the desire to be great and be a champion. And then I'll know where to put you. I'll put you in my strength camp if this isn't what you want to do, and that's fine. Everyone has their own levels. But if you want to become a national champion or get to the pro level, you know as well as I do, it takes a different level of dedication. You know, and if you're willing to dedicate 90 seconds to me to finish a medley, you know, and give me everything you got, then I'll give you everything I got, you know, because I give everything. I'm not the kind of person that just, you know, kind of gives you a little bit here and there. If you're in my program and committed to me, I give you everything. You know, all my strength coaches that I have here, they have a lot of my knowledge, you know, because I don't hoard it. I give it away. You know, you've seen like Casey Garrison, he has a gym now. You know, we have Ben Moreland, he has his own gym. These are all, you know, guys that they work for me and they train under me, but you know what? I want them to evolve too, and I want them to become great. And you know, he just took second place with Brian Shaw on America's Strongest Man, and he came to me as just a ex-pro baseball player, you know, 260 pounds, you know, no strength, couldn't even squat 300 pounds, and now Casey's one of the best strongmen in the country, you know. But you know, I gave Casey everything, you know, and you know, now he's very successful, and now he's taking that knowledge and helping other athletes with it as well in his sport. You know, he helps a lot of baseball athletes, softball. One of his the teams that he was just working with actually just won CIF, which is California State Championships.
Okay, wow.
So you know, that's it all. It's like kind of we've been around a long time, so being able to kind of spread the seed a little bit, you know. So
nice. Technically, when you do your training, what do you think some of the big mistakes that most people make, and kind of what's your approach to?
Okay, so for, you know, one of the basic things I see, especially, you know, and this goes, you know, everyone's guilty of this, especially in, you know, in some of the guys that I've trained, is I'll just be kind of like, you know, helping somebody else, and then I'll look over and I'll see somebody just kind of warming up, you know, recklessly. I think that, you know, a good place to start, this is just very rudimentary, is treat your warm-ups the same way you would your, you know, your technical sets, your heavy sets. A lot of people, when they warm up, they just start, you'll see guys with the barbell just be doing this, you know, just kind of weird shit. If you're a guy that does a push press, if you're a guy that does a split jerk or a push jerk, do all your warm-ups that way, you know, become more technical in that bar path, in that line, so that it becomes perfect. You want to perfect it so that, you know, you're generating force in one direction, you know, rather than just warming up your elbows, and then all of a sudden they're up to 200 pounds. And now they're just starting to apply the technique that they'll use in their technical sets. And then they're slow, their bar path is, you know, is all over the place, and they get sloppier and sloppier. And then all of a sudden, you know, they're competing in a contest, and, you know, nothing looks technical. You know, you'll see a lot of my athletes, especially when they get to a contest, we are always the most technical people at the show. You know, I went to you know, America's Strongest Man with Sean DeMarinis and Casey this past year, and I was looking at a lot of the lightweight pros, and I was watching them warm up, and I was watching them kind of, you know, compete, and I was thinking to myself, Sean probably has the possibility to stay America's Strongest Man for a long time, just by the fact that these guys are just strong, you know, genetically gifted kids, and you know, not to get into the other aspect of things, the dark side of it, but they're very gifted. But they have no idea what they're doing. I mean, even they won their pro cards, and they don't have any technique at all. They're not applying. I mean, there's a couple guys there that I could tell, you know, they did their homework, and they're definitely thinking when they're training, and they're putting more effort into that side of it, and they are more cerebral. But I always say it's strong man, it's not smart man. So a lot of guys, you know, they just kind of they go through the motions. They just throw a bunch of weight on the bar, and then they go and they try to see how much weight they can lift every session. Whereas we do a lot of different work with different and varied intensities, and, you know, and try to develop, you know, their technique and also their power more as well. You know, you have to take a step back too, you know, and work on your bar speed as well. You know, I think speed strength is very important in strongman. I don't think enough athletes give speed strength enough, you know, enough volume or enough attention. So I think, one thing I could say to most of you guys is just dial it back a little bit and, practice your warm-ups the same way you would on your work sets. And that'll go a long way for you.
Yeah, I agree completely. So what's in store for East Coast, West Coast? Kind of what's coming up? I know you hold California's Strongest Man.
Yeah, California's Strongest Man every year in Huntington Beach. It's probably, one of the most popular shows. We always get the guy, whoever wins California's Strongest Man, typically wins his pro card.
Yeah.
So all the best athletes, the top athletes, know it's kind of like a stepping stone,
yeah.
or you got to pass through California's Strongest Man. If you can win that show, you're ready for your pro card. So, but yeah, California's Strongest Man runs every March. Typically we have it's a real pure strongman show. We'll have an overhead press. We'll have a keg toss or some form of power event. There'll always be something like a tire flip or Atlas Stone series. We tend not to get very lazy with our show.
Yeah.
We run it once a year, so we bring everything. I bring all my equipment, I load up into a truck, I bring all my pros. We have the top-notch staff, so the show runs very, very, very efficiently. You've done it before,
2011.
I run a tight ship there, so, and all my guys, they know what they're doing. So, the athletes are like, God damn, that show ran fast, and it was just perfect. Kind of way a training session would run.
Mm-hmm.
You get just enough downtime to recover, but not enough that you feel like you're just waiting and sitting around. That will never happen at my show. I don't allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And we'll even run like Conan's wheel sometimes and the keg toss, and that we have to get through 50 athletes or 60 athletes, but we bang it out like nothing. So the athletes tend to like the show, and then the audience wants to stay around too because it's not getting mundane or boring. We'll all even run two events at the same time, one on the beach and then one on the pavement. So people are watching the girls over here, which have become very, very popular.
Yeah.
Our girls, we call them the squirrels, the ECWC squirrels, Leafy Ingalls and Sherry Fontes. We have Ashley Crawford now, who's pretty awesome, Amanda Gertis. Those were my best, Emily Elliott, she comes here too. These are all, very good, very technical women, and they're all, kind of evolving. Leafy just won the Arnold Pro class, and she's a middleweight, and she's beating heavyweights, pretty routinely. So she's this girl is, she's up and coming. She's going to help the sport evolve too. She's got the looks, and she's got the brain. She's very cerebral too, and she loves to really ask a lot of questions, and she's always trying to evolve. She comes from a science background too. So she speaks my language, and she does very well here, and she's going to continue to evolve. You haven't seen the best of her yet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's awesome. So is there anything else you wanted to get out there?
Sure. So we're basically, I always like to say to people, we're not a strongman gym. We're strength athletes.
Yeah.
My guys aren't just there to pick up heavy weights and lift. They can jump. They can sprint. One of Leafy's big issues was running back and forth for on the medleys. So we went out to the track, and I taught her how to sprint and run. Same thing with Chris Burke. They look like monsters running around. But then we work with their fluidity and their mechanics, and all of a sudden now they're running more effortlessly. So they transition a lot faster now in those events. So East Coast, West Coast, it's more of a place for athletes. It doesn't matter what sport it is. I have football players, track athletes, baseball players, you name it. A lot of MMA fighters too. This is a huge area, Orange County, for fighters. So we take all these anaerobic athletes and we just make them into monsters, and strongman just happens to be one of the sports that we have a real expertise in. So I like to say we're the strongest gym in the West. We can definitely argue that. I know there's a lot of good strong gyms in here, but it just sounds better, So when you market it like that, but it's definitely a passion of ours. We like to make people strong and fast and explosive, and strongman is definitely one of our mainstays here at the gym. But we're looking for the sport to evolve. Hopefully, the leadership can kind of get a little bit more, a little more fire under their butts and help the sport grow. I mean, if CrossFit can grow, and that's just a bunch of people exercising, and people will watch that. But I think
so why strongman can't.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting the women now, so the women are coming into the sport. It was before you announced a women's class, and maybe 1 or 2 women would sign up, and that's not worth putting your staff through bringing all this equipment in and out, and if they're not going to get the numbers.
Yeah.
So hopefully with the women coming in from maybe the people, the CrossFit rejects that don't really like the CrossFit, or they realize, oh wow, I tried strongman, or I tried powerlifting, or I tried Olympic lifting. You know, I'd rather, this is what I like. And that's probably the one thing that CrossFit did was create a bridge to the real strength sports. Because, you know, if you've ever read anything that I've written, I don't like CrossFit. You know, I tend to bag on it a lot. Because, you know, and I just heard that like 25 athletes just tore their pec doing something. I don't know. To me, you know, it's just jackassery. You know, just putting it together, any circuit together with no, you know, thought process behind it. You know, what makes the most sense. They just throw a bunch of things out there and you know, wait for people to die, it seems. And even in the workouts too, and none of the real CrossFit athletes do CrossFit. They all do their own, you know, variation of training. They actually are becoming more scientific in the way they look at things, and they all have strength coaches that are helping them be better in CrossFit, not just doing the CrossFit workouts. So CrossFit's kind of
doing a concurrent method like we've been doing for, you know, years.
Exactly, you know, so it's a competition now. The whole gym CrossFit thing, I think, is just you know, it's smoke and mirrors. You know, it's just they market it with girls in tight shorts and high socks, and I think that's how the appeal started.
I like to watch.
Everyone likes that, but you know, I think you know, the sport in itself is a sport, you know, but the way that they train, it's all a lie. You know, no one does CrossFit to train for CrossFit games. You know, they do different forms, variations of training, how they think they're going to become the best, you know, in those facets or whatever it is they think is going to, you know, be the event. So, yeah, I mean, we could probably take a CrossFit athlete and make him better than any CrossFit gym. So that too. But I don't really, you know, I bag on CrossFit so much. I think it's a deterrent. But if a CrossFit athlete came in here and was like, hey, could you help me win the CrossFit games? I wouldn't turn them away. You know. It's a sport in the end, or it's a game, and they can win money. So, you know, to me, it's just a different puzzle to solve. You know, so, and I like to solve puzzles. So
awesome.
Yeah, man.
Hey, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, dude.
And thanks for watching again, guys. Make sure you follow my sponsors, Lead FTS, Hate Brand Goods, and Train Strongman. If you want to get in contact with me, that information will be below. Thanks, and I'll see you out on the road.